Mm. Oh, what's that? I saw that. Yeah, I saw it, and then there was like nothing else. That was it. You're muted this entire time? Am I
There we
muted?
go. No,
How about
you
me?
they can hear
Am I
you. All right.
good?
All right. We're going to do this again. We're going to do
He
this one
only
more
reads
time.
super chat. That's true. He only reads super chats.
All
You
right.
have to
Let's do this again. We'll just here if I do this, can
take
I
two
uh
and go.
All right. Hey, everybody, welcome back to HitPoint, an anime news
Hey!
show, a JRPG news show, a niche news show, a show where Baku and I will talk about anything and everything that catches our interest and or ire. We broadcast live every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and I always nail the intro. We'll be previewing trailers and talking about rumors. Did I say that already? And we're gonna be doing this other thing where we're gonna help you out with the existential quandaries that you face in your day-to-day life, but separate you
Mhm.
from things that keep you from, playing RPGs and yeah, it was way better the first time I said it when I wasn't muted.
It's almost you had practice just now.
Oh, no, no, no. The first time was better. And this time I'm comparing myself to like my first and I'm like, "Oh man, my perfect intro was spoiled on just Baku." And well, I had Baku sweating here for a second cuz I because I led with, man, the crazy news that just happened a few hours ago that's just set the whole internet on fire. And you know what it
Amazing.
is? Yeah,
No,
the whole
please tell
internet.
us about it again.
Yes,
I mean, for the first time.
the whole internet is abuzz with this crazy bombshell news that just dropped a few hours ago, and I think that it's very appropriate we talk about it right here on HitPoint, and that is the Samurai Showdown action RPG that just got announced. Oh yeah. Yeah, there. I had Baku sweating for a second. He's like, "Where are you going with this?" You should have been there for it. It was great.
Oh boy.
Oh
Well,
gosh.
yeah. Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Yes,
The most
absolutely.
professional
Yes.
podcast on all of YouTube. It's good to see you all today. Welcome to the show, everybody. And I
Hmm.
hope that you're having a great day so far. I'm a little bit out of it because I just did all kinds of yard work. like, I don't know if you know this about me, man. I'm kind of a computer nerd. I do have a yard that I have to maintain, but I kind of let
You
it
were
go for a
forced to
while.
touch grass today. Is what
I was,
happened.
dude, grass was assaulting me today. I had to get the weed whacker out to take the first pass at it was that kind of a yard kind of day. Cause like, here's the thing. We took care of it and it was fine before we went to Pennsylvania for PAX. And then it's
Hmm.
just been like nothing but thunderstorms and like 100-degree days between then and now. And today was like the first like 78 degrees out kind of day. I'm like, all right, we got to do this. And we tackled this grass that had just grown like 15 inches in that time. It was nuts.
That
So,
sounds crazy.
did I say PAX? My brain, I told you, my brain is shot today.
I was like, you wanted packs? Like what?
No, 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 it wasn't PAX. It was too many games in
Too many
Pennsylvania.
games.
Oh my
Well, we
gosh.
had the soup dumpling, and it was great.
Yeah, yeah. Baku, save me from myself. Take over. Baku, take the wheel.
Yes. Do do we have any voicemails? No, no voicemail today.
I checked no voicemails yet today, but if you would like to leave us a voicemail, you may do so at the number on your screen at 785-337-3805. You can call that number. We won't answer because, it's modern day. But if you call that number, you can talk to a robot that will take your voicemail and then provide me with that voicemail that we can then play on the air and discuss live. Kind of the way we're going to discuss a lot of other. You know what? This is going to be a very discussion heavy podcast today,
Oh
guys.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So get ready for that. But before we do, we're going to talk about some other comments that we actually gathered from the last podcast.
Let's do it.
All
Yeah.
right. You want to take
So
this first one?
yeah. So I guess as a reminder for folks in our last podcast, we had Saxon, one of the developers, one of the three brothers developers who were working on Infinity Night Cross, and we're just very appreciative of them to come by our show. And the comments are mostly in relation to the game. So that's the context.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got a comment here from Randy Marsh who said, like when they showed the trailer and Saxon is smiling, proud of their hard work. It's absolutely great. If you ever and by you I mean all of you in chat ever get a chance to go to these like game conventions and these developers have set up shop to display the games, like you will see a lot more of that. Like it's a great place to just go out and meet some of these guys. And likewise, if you're an indie developer and you're really serious about pushing these games out, go out there, go to these conventions, set up shop, and just have a chance to talk to people. It's well worth the money.
Yeah.
People like myself, I go there and I provide like basically free QA. I'm sitting there playing the game, like, oh, I found a bug, and you can just like, okay, like all the people and give and people giving feedback, like real feedback right away.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not going to mince words. It's ego is going to hurt a little bit from some of the comments, I'm sure. Sometimes people are with the best intention, could come off as quite rude. I've heard some things that were said. It wasn't me, I swear. I was super polite about things. But yeah, but nevertheless, like doing field work and getting those like real responses and feedback from people, man, that's how you can really take a game to the next level. So I think I would recommend that for all devs moving forward. But yeah, Saxon's super cool. We had a little bit of chat beforehand and afterwards. Super good dude. Looking forward to seeing the game.
100%. And we got another one here from Joshua Castro who says, I was on the fence the whole time because the game looks amazing, but they doubt they'd ever play co-op with anyone. However, as soon as Saxon said that they were adding a big brother, little brother mode, I was sold. I have a 6-year-old and he could play along with me and that would be a lot of fun. And that's so crazy because when I asked about like, so you're going to put in a, big brother, little brother mode, like a little brother controller mode, I think is how I phrased it.
Mhm.
I was kind of making a little bit of a joke, but the fact that they are actually considering doing something like that would just be incredible,
Yeah.
because being able to enjoy an RPG alongside, one or two or more of your kids,
Mhm.
if you have kids, that is, that could be a game changer for some people who, might not be able to play a whole lot of games because of having kids, right?
Yeah.
So that's just awesome and serendipitous that's actually a thing. I didn't
Yeah,
I didn't
well,
even know that.
uncle and nephew bonding time too. I have like two little nephews, so
Yeah.
like I would love to be able to play some games with them. I mean, well, they're old enough now. They're like 10 and 8, so like they are old enough to play these games. I mean, my first RPG I was 8, so they understand. But had they been younger, and this game is out with Big Brother, Little Brother mode, I could have been playing with them. So I can totally see those like cases too. So there's just so many ways to get them to start playing RPGs while they're young.
And that could also, if you think about it, Baku, you and I are of a certain age.
We are of a certain age, yes, that is correct.
We're almost we're approaching the crest of the hill. We're
My
on our way
birthday's next
there.
week.
I hope we make it there.
Speaking of
our,
getting
our
older,
reflexes our reflexes are they're not as sharp as they once were. At some point, little brother
Mhm.
mode might actually be my old my old uncle mode.
Oh no!
Can't quite see the screen as well as he used to.
Oh
Doesn't quite have the
no!
reflexes to
Yeah, my eyesight's getting worse. My reflexes are getting worse. Everything's getting worse.
Always got to go to the bathroom. Can't quite hold it
I've gone to
through a
the
boss
bathroom
fight.
like 50 times already between the intro.
Uncle Baku. Just
Gotta go again. Oh boy.
oh man. So yeah,
Constant
that's
pauses.
just more accessibility features are good for everybody,
For old
including
people too.
including
Yes.
us OGs who are you know
We're getting there.
yeah, we'll be getting there. It's going to be more important as we get closer.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
with on that bombshell, let's talk about some new games that were announced. Well, I mean,
Yes.
okay, this wasn't announced that recently. Do you want to take this one, Baku?
You want to take this one?
All right, I'll talk. I'm taking this one.
Go for it. I'm too far away from this title to talk about it meaningfully.
I know you're like oh man,
I am
Baku
very
talking
far
about this
away.
game is kind of like talking about like I don't know, politics in Zimbabwe or something. It's like we're about that far away removed from it. So,
Hmm.
Trails Through Daybreak 2 has been announced, and we meant to talk about this last week, but for some reason or other we kind of forgot to add it to the docket.
Oops.
I mean,
Yeah.
I assumed that it was because it happened the week prior and we didn't want to do a whole lot of catch up, and we also had that big interview and we wanted the focus to be on that, but I guess maybe it just slipped under the radar for Baku because he's
Yeah.
just so used to not paying too much attention to Trails stuff because he's got a ways to go. He's got
Look,
he's
listen. I only pick up big games. Okay, only the biggest of RPGs makes it onto the show. Trails, I was kind of like on the fence. I mean, this tiny little game. Like who has
oh
ever
yeah.
even heard of Trails?
Oh yeah,
Whatever.
no, I mean
Yeah, no one's
it's
offended.
yeah.
No one called me out at all. Not a single person. No,
True.
actually, yeah, no, that was my bad. But
Yeah.
also, we did talk about two East games last show,
It
so I
was
feel like
it was
Falcon fans
particularly
should be,
Falcom heavy.
appeased by the mentioning of two East games. We don't want to over Falcom you there, no. So we
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to
you got to pace
split up the
yourselves.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, it came out with a new trailer. Um, I don't know if we're gonna watch that trailer though.
Oh,
Baku
is it
did.
spoilery?
I mean, I just feel like a lot of the Trails fans at this point they have either sought it out and have watched it or
Mm,
have made the concerted effort to avoid it because of spoilers. And I find that because we are 11 games into this series at this point, that some people are just more sensitive to spoilers in these trailers than others.
yeah.
When I showed it off a couple of weeks ago in the JRPG Weekly Update, I actually I showed the trailer, but I blurred it all.
I
uh,
think we can avoid it. Yeah, we can just avoid it. But just know that we hadn't forgotten about it this week,
yeah,
and that it's coming out
yeah,
early
it's
next year, which is a
early
lot faster
2025.
than
Yeah,
yeah, it's a lot earlier than I thought it would.
they announced
Listen.
it on the day of the release of Trails Through Daybreak the
Yeah.
first, which is pretty ballsy move
Hmm.
to try to get people excited for the sequel. But you know what? I'm here for it. And the fact that they were able to announce it as being early 2025, like that's early 2025 is as soon as 5 months from now, 5 or 6
Yeah.
months from now. Like, could you imagine? It's so crazy. But anyways, what's really crazy about this is that Nisa has been putting in so much work to bring us up to speed with Japan.
Hmm.
When they first took over the Trail series around Cold Steel 3, there were a lot of people who were really unhappy with the transition from Xseed to
Hmm.
NIS America doing the localizations. And,
Hmm.
I kind of feel like they've done an incredible job of getting us back caught up even faster. So
It took
I'm
a little time, but
I mean, it was going to either way. There
yeah.
was like we were like 5 games behind at the time or something. It was wild. It was a lot.
Right.
Um, and now that gap between Japanese releases and Western releases is shrinking pretty quickly, and I love it. Yeah. So, anyways, pre-orders for the game can be pre-ordered right now over on the Nisa site. So go check it out. It's coming for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, the Nintendo Switch, and PC as well.
Yeah, and for those people who are keep ordering the limited edition and then don't play the game, yeah, stop doing that. Just go play the game,
Oh,
guys. Please
speaking
don't
of
be like me.
speaking of, I was gonna say, speaking of which, I am giving away a copy of Trails Through Daybreak, the limited edition.
Ooh,
Yeah, and
nice.
you can be a part of that giveaway if you go over to the Discord channel and sign up for YouTube notifications. That is, there are instructions on how to do that on the unboxing and first impressions video that I did for Trails Through Daybreak on Monday. It's been such a busy week. I put out so much videos. It's been a lot, but I feel really good. But anyways, go check it out if you might think you want a a limited edition with like the soundtrack and everything for Nintendo Switch. That's the version I'm giving away because I accidentally ended up with 2 copies. Don't
I
you hate
feel
it when
like I
that
have no
happens?
choice at this point. I need to do it. I've been called out. I don't know why I keep doing it. It started Reverie. Actually, no, it started Cold Steel, which right now I'm like starting to like think
You
I won't
started
play
Cold
it.
Steel? What?
No, it started with buying limited
Oh,
edition of Cold Steel,
oh, I
and
see what you're
then
saying.
yeah,
Okay.
because I picked it up like used. I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like backtracking anyway, it's fine. And then Cold Steel 4, and then Reverie. I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'll continue to,
Hmm.
collect the limited edition for whatever reason. And then once it came, and I'm like, why the heck did I do that? And then I didn't know, but I also bought the limited edition of Daybreak.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why did I do that? There's no reason to do this.
Well,
I'm not playing this anytime soon.
I
Why do you
will
keep
tell
doing
you
this?
that you can go into Daybreak next if you want. You don't have to listen to all the people
Hmm.
telling you what to do, Baku. It's okay. You can start going into Daybreak.
No, I want to play Crossbell.
It's really good.
Because I
Crossbell
haven't
is really
even
good.
played Crossbell yet.
Yeah, yeah, you really should. It's great.
Ugh. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get there. I am. I'm working on it.
All right. Well, hey, we should probably move on to the next topic. Enough of this Trails talk.
Yeah, that replaced the whole trailer just now. That idle talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
that replaced the trailer. Okay, so this time we'll actually watch a trailer. This next game is coming from a small Korean developers called I believe 21st Century Duck or something to that effect. They've been working on a game called Chrono Sword, and the game was originally on Kickstarter back in 2019. It's been in development for a couple of years. Well, good news. CFK, a publisher, had just announced that they will be publishing this upcoming 2D action RPG, and we can take a look at it in the trailer.
All right, let's check
Uh,
it out right
yeah.
now.
So as we're watching the trailer, I do want to mention that this is not the
I'm tired of
newest
doing this
trailer.
every
This is
time.
actually like from
First,
late
I'm not an
2022.
adult.
Oh, okay.
But it shows gameplay, whereas the new trailer does not.
Didn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
and
see
so I
this
didn't.
trailer before. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
They sh-
didn't like that. Yeah, so I
I
wanted
did
to
like
show what the game is about, right?
That's a
Because
good call.
showing the new trailer doesn't do much. It's
Yeah, I
not a
noticed
gameplay
that when I tried
trailer.
to show that off during JRPG Weekly Update. I was like, this is some cool backgrounds and stuff. What's the game look like though? I have no
Yeah,
idea. I didn't realize they put out a more feature complete
they
trailer
did
earlier.
from before. Yeah,
It looks
and I
good though.
so this is like a time traveling
We've talked about
2D
this
action
before, didn't
RPG,
we?
but it's also like so esque in a sense that like you fight these like the atmosphere and the kind of bosses that you fight, you pretty much expected to lose and die all the time. They are not easy,
Hmm.
and this is not going to be an easy game. It's what they're hoping for. I think the pixel art looks amazing.
It really does.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, this is from a Korean developer,
Oh.
so I think it's pretty cool that they are.
because I saw the environs before and I thought they looked so good in that trailer that they just put out. But okay, this does have me interested though. That's
Yeah, it's like don't sleep on Korean developers. They've had years and years to catch up and they've worked there are a lot of games that are, getting that kind of recognition now. Like what is that one other game that dang it.
Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade, yeah. Oh, the guy is a newly minted billionaire, by the way.
Who
His
is?
his company went public and just immediately became a billionaire.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So I'm all I'm saying is just don't sleep on it. Like they're coming.
Dang.
This game is currently being developed for all modern platforms. Although it will first launch as an early access game for PC via Steam sometime this year. So just be on the lookout. This game will come out soon if it interests you.
Alrighty. Well, we got another game that was announced by Toei Animation that they'll be making a new side-scrolling survival adventure game with studio Nestopi called Rever Project hyphen Tokyo hyphen.
I hate these names.
I know.
Hate those names.
I know, me too. So, I'm sorry, I said Rever, but it's actually Ver Project hyphen Tokyo hyphen. In this game, you will play as Yukinori Amane, who has been falsely accused of a crime. In his runaway from the law, he will need to use his survival skills to satiate his health while working to prove his innocence.
Yes.
Okay, you want to check out the trailer for it?
Yes.
All right,
I think
let's
this
see
one's
if...
also a pretty interesting game.
Yeah. So that's... Again, this is Ver Project space. Okay, there we go. Oh,
Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, it's that kind of pixel art
I like
kind of
it.
game. Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of what is that one game called? Like this war of
This War of Mine.
is it this war of mine?
There's also...
It's been so long. Yeah, this war of mine. It slightly reminds me of this war of mine, which is also a survival game. But it's like a post-war survival game. Yeah.
I don't
This
know
is
what it is
different.
about it.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like Shadowrun.
Shadowrun.
Yeah, it's an older RPG. It doesn't look anything like this though, so that's why I'm like, for some reason,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you're traveling with like you're traveling with like a known idol who is also being accused of something. I think is how this thing is, and she's sick, and you have to like find meds for her, and I don't know. It's just I oh you can get chased by cops.
Run! Uh-oh.
Oh
Stop
no,
right there,
you were
criminal
caught.
scum. You have violated the law.
Yeah, you live in Tokyo, and in this version of Tokyo, at least, once you are branded as being guilty of something, it's like almost impossible to fight against it. So, but you're innocent. You didn't do this thing. So
Yeah.
you're gonna evade the cops and run around and search for food and all that fun stuff.
That does look pretty interesting, honestly.
Yeah,
That's caught my
there was a
attention.
lot of games like these that ends up being talked to. So okay, so I don't know who was here last week, but last week we talked about Bit Summit, which is like this huge like indie show in Kyoto, right? And I thought that it was gonna be a super packed week, like oh my god, it's all gonna be all these games. And then I forgot one crucial detail,
Yeah.
and that is all these games that were being talked about and showcased and mentioned and yada yada. A lot of those have no Western like release details at all.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we can talk about them, but then they may or may not ever make it out to the West. And my whole thing is, well, if it doesn't come out to the West, then it probably doesn't concern, most of the
Most of
people
us,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you are able to read moon runes, then you probably don't need us telling you about some of these games. So it's kind of like from a reporting aspect, it's like, yeah, what am I really telling you anyways? Oh, this is a really cool game, except it's totally not coming out to the West yet. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've just made the decision to just like not talk about any of these. But this one will be coming out though in the West, which is why we included it.
Sometimes we'll, sometimes I make the executive decision to overrule that rule, you know,
Sometimes.
every once in a while. Just
Every once
because
in a while.
sometimes we can assume some games come out.
Yeah,
But with the
sometimes
indies, it's really hard to foresee that sort of thing.
indie is
So,
hard, yeah. Like
especially
if,
because
if
there's
Square
so
Enix
many.
decides to tell us about a game and and we have every reason to believe it will come out in the West, we'll talk about it.
What
Or
if
like
Square Enix
Falcom.
makes an indie game?
Yeah, if Falcom says here's East 11, I'm not gonna like skip on it because oh, there's some fear that they won't bring it to the West. Like no,
No.
no reasonable person would think that. Indie games though, you never know.
Yeah. And for those of you who didn't catch my sarcasm about that, uh the other day Square Enix was talking about, making indie games and how they value
Yo,
it.
jeez.
Like, what if Square Enix makes an indie game? I don't know.
Mm, yeah.
Anyways,
No, I still feel like maybe they're talking about publishing indie games,
yeah.
which they
Yeah,
do.
maybe.
Yeah, but they're forget it's like the whole Amazon original thing. It's like, okay, did you make this Amazon or oh no, sorry,
Hmm.
Netflix? Did you make this show Netflix or did you like just buy it and now
Yeah.
it's like an exclusive for you? But they call it like a Netflix original, make it sound
Oh,
like you made this show. It's like no, you didn't.
and before I forget,
Hmm.
as far as Recall Ver Project hyphen Tokyo hyphen, uh,
Yes.
or just Reverb Project Tokyo. This is slated for sometime in 2025 for PC via Steam. No other
Oh, we
consoles have
forgot to
been
talk
announced
about
just
that.
yet.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Thank you,
no other
Derek.
consoles at this time, but there we go. Um,
Thanks for bringing us back to form.
you bet, you bet. Happy to help.
All right. Well, continuing being back to form. Next up, we've got Point 45, Parabellum, Bloodhound. And yes, I know, I hear it from all of you right now, but didn't you already talk about that last week? And we sure did. We sure did talk about this Parasite Eve inspired game last week, but we didn't have a trailer, and
Yep,
now we do.
that's how they
So,
that's how they get you. That's how they
oh,
get you with
that's
the
how
hype
they get
train.
us. They knew. They knew. So yeah, you guys don't know this, but the creators of Valhalla, the people who are making this game, yeah, they totally watch our show. Yeah, and they are just like, yeah, let's just mess
Well,
with Baku and Derek there. Don't show that trailer, and they talk about our game. Oh, they talked about our game. Time to release the trailer. Haha.
yep.
Now they have to talk
Hit the
about us
button.
again.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
So Skeban, if you're watching this, well played.
well played.
Yes, but we will be watching the trailer because it's really impressive. I saw the game and it was only in GIF. Like we show the website. We show the website. We saw like the GIF for all you GIF people out there's GIF. Anyways, we
Yeah,
saw the
yeah.
GIF
We saw the
and
GIF, which stands for uh,
something
Giraffics Interchange Format.
graphic.
Giraffics.
Graphic. And yeah, but through that we saw some gameplay. I mean, albeit only a couple of frames, but it already looked really good. Well, now we have the trailer with the music and everything. So let's go back into that world. Let's take a fresh look again, and you can see why I was very excited for this.
All right, let's check it out. I still can't believe you're a
Derek, have you
Jiffer.
ever played Parasite Eve? I feel like you said that you didn't, but
Yeah, I've dabbled in it a little bit.
yeah. So this is definitely, you can definitely see the inspiration to Parasite Eve in like the battle.
I've never finished it, but I really ought
I
to.
love the atmosphere of this. Yeah, like you see that like the AOE. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just like straight up Parasite Eve, man. Like where the health and stuff is that too.
But it's just the
like,
combat, they say. Like the
Yeah.
developer's website
oh yeah, no, it's just
did
the
also indicate
combat.
that's kind of like
Yeah.
where the inspirations kind of end.
Yeah.
So
Everything else is yeah. Don't take this like, oh, it's a spiritual successor. No, 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 no. I mean, they
I mean,
got some heavy
it's
inspiration.
a spiritual
fun.
successor in some ways.
I You know what? I'm only reluctant to say it unless they call themselves, a spiritual successor. I just
Oh,
don't
okay.
want to,
I
like. I
feel
mean,
like
they said that their game is inspired by Parasite Eve, so I have no issue with saying it.
See, like I wouldn't ever if I were a developer of a video game, I
Mhm.
wouldn't ever self-proclaim to be a spiritual successor because I feel
I
like
don't
that
think they
might be a little
should.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like that sounds like a really lofty thing for an indie developer to say, like
Hmm.
regarding a classic RPG. Like nobody should ever say, "Yes, like I'm inspired by this," or "I'm trying to do something that is inspired by this." I think that's fair game, but I
Yeah.
don't think anybody who's a developer would say of themselves that it's a spiritual successor unless they're also a developer of that original game. So like yeah, that's why I'm okay with calling some games they like a spiritual successor or what looks to be a spiritual successor or something to that effect. And I feel like I have to defend that position because that's what I called it in my JRPG Weekly Update video. Just so you know, that's the only reason
No,
I'm
it's more of a personal choice than
sure.
oh no, you're doing a bad thing there,
Mm,
kind of
I know.
deal. Yeah, no, you can call it whatever you want. Um, but yeah, no, I'd say that it looks amazing,
Oh, dude,
and
it
that
looks
it
so
is
good.
yeah, in I am really hoping they do well. There's no release timeline as of yet. As a matter of fact, if you ask them when it's done, they'll answer you with "It's done when it's done." So, all the release times, like when is this being released? When it's done.
Mm-hmm.
That's the. I respect it. Look, take your time, make a great game, and we'll see you when you see it. It is currently only being developed for PC, however. So if you're looking to play on other platforms, yes, I don't think that's coming, at least as of right now. But things can always change. But hey, for those who own a Steam Deck, this game looks like a Steam Deck ready, though. That's for sure.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Alrighty.
right.
So I'll go ahead
Yeah.
and move us along here to
Yes.
this other game. This is not the first time we've talked about it. It's called Divine Dynamo Flamefrit. And
Flame Fruit.
this is a game that we talked about around April or so. April, well, maybe April 1st, maybe, when
Yeah,
Indie
somewhere around there.
Creates showed us a new game that they had been working on called Divine Dynamo Flamefrit that drew heavy inspirations from magical mecha animes like Mashin Hero Wataru and Mado King uh, Granzort.
I, your pronunciation is as good as my
It's
guess.
probably Granzort.
Grand Zort.
Yep. Anyways, the only thing is that at the end of the trailer they were like, it's an April Fool's joke, and Baku and I at the time, I think you and I were of the same opinion. I was like, yeah, that's totally not an April Fool's joke. It's like
They're
what?
working on this,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Indie Creates was just like, hey guys, wouldn't this be funny? And we're like, yeah, we see you. We saw that. We were not April Fooled, but some people might have been. But anyways, Indie Creates have now announced that the game is in fact actually for real in development, and they also have a new trailer for us to showcase as well. You want to take a look at it?
Yes.
Alrighty.
Also, bonus points for all the people who knew what Grand Zort and Wataru are, because yeah, that's my childhood. I grew up watching those shows, so I'm super excited to see this. Now they've captured the spirit of those days, like with the
And the dub even.
silly armor and the sword and the magical kid.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and the the dub is so okay. The one thing
90s
I will say,
anime.
if you listen, I really hope you can toggle his voice. Every
I
time
think
he
so.
swings, it goes huh, and I'm like, oh, that's already annoying.
You're practically inseparable.
But
So yeah, you can summon like friends to help you use different magics.
oh, that's cool.
And
This
then you
looks
can
like it's gonna
fight
be
like
so.
the boss of the episode kind of deal, and then you get in
This
your robot.
this looks like Ganbare Goemon.
Yes it does. Yes it does.
Yeah,
And I'm sure they've taken inspiration from that too, because
I'm
it's
sure.
right around that era, man. Like
I'm
the
very
the
excited
the,
about that.
the late '80s, early '90s. Yeah.
Yep, because that's straight up impact right there.
monster of the episode. Like
I like
it
the
was very
anime
popular back
aesthetic that
then.
they achieved in the faces and stuff. The '90s anime design.
Oh geez, yes, it's freaking perfect.
Ah,
Yeah, so I am super excited for this one.
yeah, that looks so cool. So this is slated for winter, and it's coming out on all major platforms, including Nintendo Switch, which is pretty exciting.
Yes, including the Switch.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said all modern platforms, and I was like, well, I feel like I should include, a note that
Well, until the Switch 2 comes out, it's unfortunately
yeah,
still technically modern.
it's gonna happen. They're going to announce the replacement. They're going to
The
announce the
Super
Super Nintendo Switch.
Super
Yes,
Nintendo Switch, yes.
they're going to announce it this year. They said that they're gonna. It's just a matter of when.
And then you'll make a new video like called Super Derek predicted Super Nintendo Switch.
It's actually not just me. It's me, and it's also Wood from Beat 'em Ups. I think he might have been the first one to like convince me that
Coined
this
it.
is what it needs to be. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's gonna be his video, I'm
Write
sure.
write to Nintendo. Be like, dear Nintendo, I know you've got this crazy, project coming up, and I would like to pitch a name. I think it should be called the Super Nintendo Switch. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
You'll
Yep.
sell
You'll
billions of
love it.
those. Yeah,
Yep.
they'll love it.
Well, that about covers it for all of our new games that were
New?
announced. So
Yes.
we're gonna switch gears and start doing a little bit of our discussion topics, which we've honestly kind of been slacking on a little bit with. Well, I think we've been meaning to do a little bit more of these kind of conversations, and this one's going to be a little bit of interaction. So, to introduce the topic of today's show, you may have already seen it in the title and the thumbnail and stuff, but it's really going to be centered around the barriers that kind of get between you and the games that you want to play. Like what are and in chat, feel free to include your own thoughts into this because we're going to try and keep an eye on chat as well. But we really want to know like what kinds of things keep you from being able to play the games that you want to be able to play. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and this was the reason that this subject kind of came up is because during gosh, which video was it that I put out? It was I think my recent top 10 RPGs under 20 hours video. During that video, somebody in the comments was talking about how they thought it would be cool if we started like kind of like a back and forth with the community and talked about this. And I was like, that's actually a really good idea. So I'm stealing it from a commenter whole idea and all. So thank you so much for that. So I shortly before the show, posed a question in the Discord asking about what kinds of challenges do you face that keep you from playing those games, and we got a lot of responses. Too many to actually cover in this. I don't know how long we have for this episode today, but what I've been able to do though is kind of categorize them into a variety of different kinds of things. So I've kind of broken them out and picked out some of the questions that were kind of representative of those kinds of responses that we got. So the first one here, Baku, is one that I've pulled aside from Ranger Ryu, who says, and this has to do with a category that I deemed like time management and time constraints. And I think we all kind of probably expected this one to be one of the first responses. So the question or their response from Ranger Ryu says, for me, it's that time commitment and balancing that with other games that I want to play.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of a tricky one because time is always so limited. And the bigger the RPGs are, like the
Hmm.
harder it is to commit that amount of time to those games, which is I think one of the reasons that I wanted to put out a top 10 of games under 20 hours in the first place. I was going to do one under 10 hours, but there just weren't any. That's not
Hmm.
true. But the list would have been kind of I think you would have noticed that some of the selections wouldn't be, incredible.
Right.
It would, well, that's not even true. It would just be a list of indies mostly, I think, at that point. But anyways, yeah, I think that it's got to be a lot of just when it comes to finding time to play, it's really tough because I think we're gonna find that there's a lot of other people who have also submitted comments that are essentially this, but time commitments that are constrained by other external factors.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah, too many. Too many things are competing for our time in a day-to-day life. Like, never mind work and I mean, the work and sleep. Those are just two things that are most
that's
most
two-thirds
all
of most people's day right
most yeah
there.
most of our days is already there, right?
Hmm.
So what little time we have left are for any purpose at all, right?
Yeah.
And as part of that is entertainment, so we can stay sane and whatnot. But entertainment comes in a lot of forms now, especially post. And I say this very carefully. Post pandemic, a lot of things are opening up. So things that we couldn't do for like 2 3 years, social gatherings, that's back on the table, right? We
Yeah.
can go out, we can grab a drink, we can do a bunch of things. There are people who are working on like side hustles, and that requires time away from things. There's just so many things.
See,
So
that's
many
why I
many
made
things.
my side hustle RPG related. Ah, that's
Ah,
using your noggin. Um,
man, you know what? We've talked about this too, and
have we?
I've always thought like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna be playing a lot of games, streaming. That's how I will clear my backlog. I feel like that has been not very successful.
Unmitigated disaster.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, um, I'm more encouraged to play
Yeah.
games with my free time,
Hmm.
but chatting with chat and playing games at the same time has slowed down my gameplay to like
Bro,
an
I'm still
abysmal
playing
halt.
Lufia 2. I'm still playing Lufia
Oh
2.
jeez.
I
You're still playing Luffy too?
it's mostly at this point I'm still technically playing it. I haven't played it for a while.
Okay.
It's I haven't played it since before I went to Pennsylvania for
Oh
too many games.
wow.
I
You
know.
really haven't been playing this thing.
I find it's because I'm also running up against time constraints where I also have the day job, but
Hmm.
also I have the YouTube job, which
Hmm.
is not, unfortunately, it's not a full-time gig for me. I hope someday maybe it could be
One day.
patreon.com/super Derek. Uh,
One day.
but maybe someday. But until then, I've also found that it does feel a lot like YouTube is a numbers game, and those numbers are all about, putting out a lot of videos every week. And the more I do that, the more success that I'm seeing as far as like getting people consistently coming back. So it really does feel like I have to be a bit more like I have a free moment. Let's make a YouTube video to put out. And
Mm.
it's doing well, but now I'm not streaming the games that I need to play to review them. And I feel like I'm just, I don't know, time constraints, right?
You
So
can't do
I feel
everything.
you, Ranger Ryu. I feel you so hard on on this one,
Yeah,
dude. It
absolutely.
hurts. And but I think that one of the things that I think does help is to and I think that this is something that I think is going to help a lot of people, and it's something that I mentioned a lot in my beat RPGs and defeat your backlog video a long while back. I should go rewatch that, and
Yes.
because I could probably stand to use some of my own advice here soon,
Hmm.
is to stay off social media because it legit just sucks so much time from you,
Hmm.
right? I mean, especially today, or rather in the surrounding years,
Hmm.
where things are scary and crazy in the world. I find like I don't want to just stick my head in the ground and pretend like nothing is happening in the world. Of
Yeah.
course, I want to be aware, but once I'm aware, I need to remember to disengage and just do things that make life enjoyable.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's That's a hard thing to do, especially when you are a kind of person who doesn't want to just ignore what's happening in the world, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a lot of things going on.
we gotta be aware of what's going on, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Um, it's hard to disengage even from like work and stuff too.
Hmm.
Like I found that kind of hard for me.
Yeah.
Uh, like you have a tough day at work, and it's hard to just remove yourself from that mode and like go embrace something that would relieve that stress. I think that's that's a hard thing to do for some people.
Hmm. And that kind of does tie into this one. This other kind of category is
Hmm.
balancing work-life responsibilities. Um,
Oh, jeez.
so Gamer Emporium brought this one up. They say we are a foster family of 7 and have 5 kids. Ages are 9, 7, 3, 2, and 10 months old.
Wow.
Plus, they both work, so their downtime is limited to playing on their days off at night when all the kids are asleep. So I think that that's another one of those situations where it's tough because I think right now it sounds like they've kind of decided, just on their days off when the kids are asleep, that's like their play games time.
Hmm.
Um, Eventually, more games that have like a little brother mode or big brother little brother mode. I'm not sure what you might call that in like a less like brother oriented thing because the reason that was introduced as such is because it's a bunch of brothers who are making the game in
Yeah.
question. But like the more you know add ways for parents to play alongside their children,
Hmm.
the easier it's going to be to balance things like this. Now, 5 kids might still be a lot to try to balance in an action RPG. That could be quite a bit, but that could be a potential path forward for spending some quality time with your kids at some point. I sidestepped the whole equation entirely by choosing not to have kids. So my own experiences in this is really limited.
Hmm.
I don't have kids. I have a side hustle instead.
Oh, wow. That's a whole child right there that you're bringing up.
Right?
That's just like that's
Everybody
my
watching
baby.
at home, y'all are my kids and I'm trying to raise you right.
Uh, yeah. Uh, I also don't have any experience in that regard, so I don't know what to tell you. But man, if we count just like work, commitments,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes there are downtimes at work. I'm like, would it be so bad if I just fire off a game and just play like 15 minutes of it? And like, there are certain games that allow us to do that. Now, I admit, I've done that.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, I'm just gonna play for like half an hour and then they come back. And
You know?
if your work
Mhm.
allows for it, anyways, I know that not everyone's work would allow them to do something like that. But if your work allows for it, it might be a good like mental like refresh. Of
Reset.
course, make sure you do the work that you have to do that day. Don't,
Well,
just
of
play
course.
games and not do your work.
You know, but on like
Yeah.
a 15-minute break or a lunch break,
Yeah.
if you have a half hour or an hour or whatever,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I mentioned with my games under 20 hours is that,
Hmm.
if you have like a Steam Deck or something, you can knock out so many games one lunch break at a time.
Yeah.
And just,
Absolutely.
it's kind of or if you commute to work, if you maybe take a bus or a subway or something, um,
Yeah.
that where you don't have to actually drive, or if you
Hmm.
can manage to find a way to do that so that you are not driving but are instead being driven, that can be some found time, I think is the word to call it, where you can just enjoy a game on your commute to work for like a half hour here or there. That's something that I used to do. Gosh, back when I lived in Seattle, we had pretty decent public transit,
Hmm.
pretty decent. It wasn't
Yeah.
the greatest, but there were half-hour stints where I'd have nothing to do but to sit there and derp on my phone. And oh god, my age. I'm sorry. I just realized derp is kind of a a 2015ism, but
Oh no,
my bad.
you're dating yourself
I
there.
know. But anyways, you could just mess around on your phone. I used to play Super Mario Run because it was that boring, and that
Hmm.
did fill in some of my time on my phone. But now you could have like a Steam Deck or a handheld emulation console like one that I made a video about not too long ago that could just easily just let you play games in your downtime and just knock out more games. So I don't
Yeah,
know. It doesn't super helpful for for child rearing, but for work life balance stuff, it could be another potential useful
yeah,
aspect.
definitely. Definitely looking towards to developers making more games that can be played in like relatively short bursts. Which one of the games recently that I've completed, what is it called? The uh, what was it? Unicorn Overlord. Yeah, that was a good one for people who they have a lot of little missions, and they're like the shortest missions I'd ever done in that game were like 5 seconds. I
Nice.
I finished it. I can finish that. I can start and finish that mission before people finish using their toilet breaks. Like that's how crazy fast it was.
Yeah.
I mean, but obviously that's the exception, not the rule. Most of the missions were like 10, 15 minutes, right? And
Yeah.
that's pretty good. It will take some um discipline. It would take some discipline to
Hmm.
be like, okay, I'm gonna play the game. Now I'm gonna go back to doing work. But if you're able to have that discipline and you can use that time, see why not.
Isn't I
Just like mentally refresh yourself midday and then go back. Like, it doesn't have to exclusively be like it's either I do this the entire time or I do this other thing the entire time. It's like, well, I have a 30-minute block in
yeah.
between work breaks. Can I sneak in 30 minutes? You can absolutely do that. I don't think there's anything unprofessional about it. It's your time, it's your break time. You do
Hmm.
whatever you want,
Yeah.
right? And if anyone gives you like problem for it, just be like, yeah, this is my break.
Yeah.
This is my time to do however I can unwind. If it means playing games for like 15 minutes, guess what? I'm gonna do that, right?
Yeah.
And the end result is a better worker who's more refreshed and ready to come back, then yeah, then go for it.
Hmm.
Yeah. But now, of course, if you have like some kind of weird like addiction issues where like you just can't come back, like once you get into the game, you get sucked into it, which definitely some kind of like I've experienced certain levels of that when I was playing MMOs, which I no longer touch.
Oh
So
yeah.
I totally understand. But
That's one of the
if
other
you're
tips that I had in my beat RPGs and defeat your backlog was basically to avoid MMOs,
yeah, avoid MMOs.
because those can be crazy
Oh,
time
they
sinks.
suck you in and they won't let you go. It's ultra addictive.
Yeah.
It's a little bit. Yeah,
It
but
it
I would
so
recommend it.
so this subject does kind of raise an interesting thought in the
Hmm.
back of my mind. Japan is also pretty notorious for having what we would in the West consider unhealthy work-life balance.
Hmm.
And in Japan, we've also seen a huge rise, or have for a long time seen a huge rise in on the go gaming experiences being,
Hmm.
placed higher up on the totem pole than we would have expected. And they are also relatively commute heavy uh, kind of culture as well.
Hmm.
Lots of use of trains and stuff. So um, gosh, maybe mobile gaming can be a way to enjoy games on the go. For the more professional minded people out there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just try to avoid the gotchas so you can
Yeah. Get the buy to play, not the pay to play,
yeah
or pay to play or freemium. Those
yeah
are not great. But buy to play is fine. Like that's to say you buy the game, you own it, you play it. Like most games are.
yeah. So Bladed Wind had another response here that I would say falls under the category of game duration. They said time commitment can be a big one. So this is talking about the time to play a game. It can be a big one. Both because I don't have as much time dedicated to gaming as I'd like, and also fatigue if a game drags on too long without keeping
Oh
me
my god.
engaged.
It's such a big thing for me
I
for
know.
games to like if I can have an open letter to game developers everywhere, just be like, Please stop making games like you make them back in the 90s or even the 2000s." Like
Yeah,
and I
back
feel like if
when
yeah.
back when they had CD technology to hold all of their video games, so they're like, well, we gotta fill it.
Well, I mean, back then there were less games to play. Back then, they the release schedule was just less frequent.
Hmm.
So a lot of people value replayability. You had this whole video on it, which, by the
Yeah,
way, watch Derek's video about replayability in games. Wink, wink.
thanks.
No, but it's true. Like, we value that a lot more. I mean, the sentiment today is, hey, maybe I don't care about it as much. Like, New Game Plus is fine. Just give me New Game Plus.
Yeah,
Maybe I want to go through the story again and make different choices. That's fine. Like, it's not necessary, but I want to see more of the game. Maybe I want to try a different combination of things. But like there's some games where like the secrets, like you can only get it in the second run or something, or you can only play a certain character in the second run to like encourage replayability. I don't think that's necessary anymore.
yeah,
People who want to replay the game will replay the game. Just give
yeah,
them New Game Plus and make it a little easier. Maybe you just want to see the story, right?
yeah,
Or like a Persona game where like, I just want to play. I want to go for a different character. I want to go do different choices. I want to live my life differently this time around. That's perfectly fine, right?
hmm,
But there's a lot of things where it's locked behind a complete game. That's I don't know, man. I
you
feel
know,
like that's where you run into issues. And of course, like replayability comes in many different forms. Some replayability is about playing with friends, like
yeah,
Monster Hunter.
oh yeah,
Yeah, like Monster Hunter, like the replayability is not about like New Game Plus or anything like that. It's more about like, okay, well, there's this one boss and I'm trying to like craft gear and I get to play with friends. That time, because you're playing with people, each of the run feels a little different, right?
hmm,
So it's not the same,
almost
right?
almost like
Yeah.
a roguelike in a way,
Yeah.
in that regard,
In that regards, yeah. So
almost.
so that's perfectly fine, if
Hmm.
that's how you want to do it. But for purely single player experience, anyways, just please stop developing games like we are absolutely demanding replayability as a core feature. It's not.
One of the
I'd we'd
things that,
rather have, yeah, I'd rather have like a extremely good first run, and just show me everything you've got,
yeah,
and just let me have my experience and let me move on. Like, I think that's
yeah,
the better way to go at it.
the game that came to mind when we're talking about this is, um, I'm still working on my replay through of Shin Megami Tensei 5, the Vengeance release. I'm now 20 hours in, but holy cow, dude, the fatigue of like, it's so far I'm playing the Vengeance thing. There have been a few things that are different. I'm 20 hours in, but mostly it's the same game so far, and it's just get me to the new content, because I'm so fatigued by just going through the motions at this point. I'm like, oh, just let me play something different. People have been
That's
telling
how I
me,
feel.
so
That's how I
so
feel
many
about
people.
Persona.
I put out my first impressions video when I was like
Mhm.
10 hours in. People are like, oh, keep going, it completely changes later. I'm like, that's great, maybe I'll keep playing then. But if I gotta go through like a whole, if you gotta get through 20 hours of the same thing in order to get to it, I am so worn out, guys. I'm tired, boss.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Persona. I know people love Persona, but uh, and okay, and I'm not talking about like the story or the like social link part of the story. Like that's all good and fine, right?
Yeah,
I'm talking about like the battle, right? In Persona 3.
yeah.
Like right now I'm playing Persona 3 Reload over on Twitch, which I'm coming up to completion soon. And just going through Tartarus. Granted, it is much better than P3P, and I'm enjoying the game for the most part. Like I've got to say, it's way better done. It is definitely the definitive way to play.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, However, that being said, climbing that tower and floor by floor, it is still dreadful. It is still the same thing. I mean, yeah, there's
Yeah.
yes, it's just more powerful spell, but the strategy is the same. Okay, hit
Yeah.
them with all the elements until you figure out the weakness. Once you figure out the weakness, the next time you run into them, just hit the weakness, all attack, boom, done. Like there's nothing different. Like every floor is basically that same rhythm. Conserve your SP as much as you can, and then at some point, a character can help, recover all your SP on chances, and that's great. But for the most part, conserve your SP, use different strategy, to hit different weaknesses. But that's still the same thing. Every time you hit a different floor and there's an enemy, oh no, I don't know their weakness. We'll figure it out, and then you'll remember it. And then the next time you see them, just hit them with the weakness, boom, all attack, done.
Mm-hmm.
Every single floor for like 200 plus floors. And then P5 Royal is just the story just got really boring. I'm tired of talking to people. It's like I thought I was done with you already. It's like, no, we're gonna have more conversations and more bonding times. Like I don't want to bond with you anymore.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, no. 100 plus hours nowadays for a game. Looking at you trails, just like it's not very appetizing to me.
I will say that they didn't wear me out. The Trails games, for whatever reason, they are long, and they do have a lot of scenes kind of like that with bonding events and stuff. But for whatever reason, the Cold Steel series did not wear me out. It did wear on me eventually, certain aspects of the games, but that's a whole different side topic, I think. But like, yeah, I,
I
I
mean,
think
you mean you're not tired of like the main character giving a grand speech and everyone just nodding at each other?
I said some things, but or taking turns
Friendship.
or taking turns like stating their agreement. Like every single person has to. I love it. Yeah, there are some aspects that
Jeez.
that you know that do get old, but I still like the Trails series a lot. So, um, anyways, so that one. Game duration and engagement.
Mhm.
We got this one though that I thought was also pretty good here. It's just decision paralysis and
Oh,
backlog
jeez.
is this
Yeah.
whole one, and this
Mhm.
comes from Arcada. They said, I sometimes feel overwhelmed by my backlog. In general, struggling to commit to a long RPG because you always have the backlog in the back of your mind. Oh my god. Yes. Yes.
The struggle is real. Every time someone
Uh-huh.
comes and asks me if I have completed trails yet, I want to run on them.
Mhm.
I just want to run away
I
and
know.
just like you can't find me.
It's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough. The backlog is such a real thing, but also it's you know it's also not a real thing. Like you, I feel like a lot of people feel like their backlog is a debt that is in need of being paid, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. I
Mhm.
think we kind of talk about it like that. We kind of take it for granted that it is. Um, but I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Like our backlog is a selection of options, and that can be a lot.
Mhm.
One of the things that I did recommend in my video, how to defeat your backlog and beat RPGs, is to make a short list of games that you really do enjoy, or rather that you have a great interest in replaying. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes making those choices in a moment is easier when you're not trying to decide what to play right now.
Mhm.
Um, so like if you just look through your backlog and pick out five and maybe make it your top five. Maybe change it out once in a while, just revisit that list of five. But when it comes time to playing a new game, pick from that list of five,
Yeah.
because that's way easier than like if you asked me to pick out a game from my collection of 300 or well, it's probably more like 600, 700 now at this point, 700 games that I have unplayed. on my shelf behind me. If you told me to go pick one, I could, but it would be like, throwing a dart at a dartboard, right? Just pick one. But
I'll give some advice for people
yeah.
who have choice paralysis because choice paralysis, believe it or not, was a subject that I had studied for a long time because of school. Yeah, I think I told you about that before, Derek. I don't
You
remember,
might
like
have.
if I want to chats, but um, like decision science, one of those things that I had to study in my undergrad, and choice paralysis comes from decision study. It's uh, the inability to make a decision, basically, right? It's choice paralysis. So choice paralysis kicks in based on our study. It kicks in right around 6, 7 choices. So you really want to limit yourself to less than that. Smaller the better. 5 and under would be best. Under 7 is okay, but anything over like 9, you're really asking for it. Like we've got it down to like basically a number of where like your brain can um make quick decisions about certain number of things, and over a certain number, and it's actually a relatively small number, you
Hmm.
start entering choice paralysis mode. So I would say keep your choices under 7. If possible, 5 and under, right?
Yeah.
Like Derek said, make a short list, right? Try to limit it down to that number. And then what you can also do is find one of those like free online like wheels that streamers like to use to pick out prizes. Put the 5 games on it, hit the thing, and then just see where it lands. And wherever it lands, play that one. Okay,
Mm.
you don't even have to make the choice. Just leave it up to the RNG to pick the game for you. Those 5 games, in theories, are games that you wouldn't mind playing any of them anyway. So it quite doesn't quite matter. It's just
Yeah.
about something making a choice for you, right? And
Yeah. And
yeah, and if it lands on a game,
I
no,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, and if it lands on a game you don't want to play, roll it again. Like
No,
that's
I
that's
was gonna
totally
say if it
valid.
lands on a game that you don't want to play, maybe it didn't even belong on that list. It just did you a
Exactly.
favor. Yeah, remove
Exactly.
that and don't even consider it again. Yeah. Um, so that's kind of what I would say about like choice paralysis is be and being okay to remove the game from maybe you thought you want to play it, but once it comes time to it and you're like rejecting it, yeah, well, that tells you you don't actually want to play the game, and you've got to be realistic with yourself. It's like, you know what? I thought I wanted to play it, but you know what? It's fine. Just remove
Hmm.
it and just forget about it.
Yeah.
And that takes a person who's able to just change their mind on things. So I
Yeah.
think it's a great quality to have.
And I think you should
Um,
also consider the fact that, like, just because you start playing a game, it does
mhm.
not mean you have to finish it.
Oh, geez,
You
yes.
can remove a game by your backlog by
Mhm.
deciding that it's not for you. That's
Yeah,
okay. Like,
yeah,
just because you spent money on it doesn't mean you have to spend time on it. Okay?
yeah.
Like
And
that's another thing that I've had to, like, a relatively sudden revelation over the course of my last 10 years playing and reviewing RPGs is that we like to back when I was a kid, I used to think that the number of hours of entertainment I got from a game divided by the cost, I was getting, you know, I was getting so many hours per dollar, right? You know, of entertainment.
cost per hour kind of deal.
Yes, but
Yeah.
what I've recently been realizing though is that it's not it it is not a return. The time that you spend on a game is not a it's not a return on your investment. It is another investment. The return that you get from games are the memories and the joy that you get out of playing them and that
Hmm.
you take with you when you're done. But the time that you spend playing games is more investment because I mean, I don't want to bring it all down into the idea that like time is money and you should always be working or whatever. People might think I'm not trying to bring in like that toxic hustle
Hmm.
mentality or anything. I'm just saying that time is a finite resource and at our age, we should understand that like the time we have is valuable and that's what so much of what we're talking about here today ties into. Time is valuable and if a game takes 100 of your hours, it had better be worth it, man.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah. It's
because
additional costs. Yeah.
yeah,
That
I
we
think
don't think about.
a lot of people used to think or still have this mentality that If a game is $60, then it had better last me, 100 hours or something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that's the opposite of what you want. Believe me.
Yeah.
Just
It's the quality. It's the quality that you get.
hmm
And I don't mean quality as in like, oh, graphic fidelity. No, like quality as in, the goodness that you're getting from the game. Whatever made you have fun, the enjoyment, the goods, right? That's the true return, not the amount of hours thereof, right?
hmm
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. The time is a cost, guys.
yeah. We got another one here that we can move along to.
Mhm.
This one came from Decadent Slacker and falls under the category I would call mental state and focus. Um,
Mhm.
they said, I don't think that my response is going to be super unique, but it's mostly work life balance stuff. I do a good job of making time for my hobbies, though. I think one hurdle I face is my mindset. I like to
Mhm.
be in a good headspace when I'm playing RPGs. I feel if I feel distracted, down, or stressed, it's hard for me to enjoy myself fully or pay proper attention to the story. So
Mhm.
sometimes I just need to wait a bit until my mind or mood is right to start a new game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
I
Yeah,
think that's
you we
underrated. That's a really important part, and it sounds like they've
mental
kind of
state,
already
yeah.
kind of figured out, kind of a process that maybe works for them. Um,
I feel that a lot, not with playing RPGs, but I feel that a lot when it comes to anime. When
oh
it
yeah.
comes time for me to sit down and watch an anime, it's
hmm
like there are some good, like some really exceptional anime, okay, and but they're like really serious. Like you really gotta sit down and like really get engaged and understand. Like, okay, not a personal one for me, but let's say an example for someone else, maybe Attack on Titan, like great
Okay.
anime,
hmm
okay, very heavy topics, requires a lot of focus to follow the plot and understand the intricacy. Okay, yeah, not always in the mood for that,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes I'm just really tired from work. I'm like, okay, I just want to watch like a slice of life. Like I don't have, yeah, I know it's great, like, and I have the
hmm
time for it,
Yeah.
but I'm not in the mental state for it.
Yeah.
Therefore, I don't want to watch it. I'd rather
Sometimes,
watch something relaxing.
sometimes maybe in your heart, you want to watch something heavy, but you know, or rather in your mind you want to watch something heavy, but in your heart you want to watch oh god, what was the name of the show again? Lucky Star. Yeah.
Oh, now that is the slice of life that ends all slice of lives.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's phenomenal. Sometimes that's just all you need is a little, and there are different kinds of RPGs that can do that sort of thing. In fact, um, if you just want some really low stakes stuff that just you can chill and play some games to.
Hmm.
What's the Atelier? Atelier is pretty low stakes.
The
Like,
Tele series, yeah, Tele series is kind of the slice of life of RPGs. Like, there's nothing high at stake, unless you feel like crafting things a chore, which I do, and it stresses me out. But like,
okay.
provided that it's not stressful for you, I think that's another pretty good pick. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some good vibes kind of RPGs out there. In addition to like some really just short games that don't require you to remember a whole lot of lore.
Mhm.
Um, some indies, maybe some
Yeah.
Zelda likes.
Hmm.
Blossom's Tale is it's a action adventure title, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of fun, and it's just does not take itself very seriously at all. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, just a palate cleanser kind of game.
And like someone point out in chat, yeah, not all atelier are relaxing. There are ones with like the stupid time limit that like, yeah, but there are ones that don't have like crazy strict time limit. If I may recommend like Sophie's a good one, where it's widely loved. It's a great atelier game. There's basically no time limit other than like small little quests, and you can go ahead and fail them and whoopie doo. Like, doesn't even matter if you did fail them. Like, oh, you have 20 days to do it. And then you don't do it. And then, the barkeep will just give you a disappointed look like, oh, you should have completed it in 20 days. Oh, well, do better next time there. Like no real consequences whatsoever.
Yeah.
Play those. That one's good. You want a relaxing game of like no major consequences. Is cute girls doing cute things to RPG. So it's what it is.
Nice. So some of them were game accessibility, like, and game mechanics. Like
Mm-hmm.
Alvaro, for instance, mentioned that the difficulty of the game sometimes can have an effect. Like they liked Xenoblade games, but the combat, they said, to put it nicely, uh, did not jive with them.
Yeah.
And that they're also not a fan of Souls likes. So a lot of the more popular games at this
Mm-hmm.
point, are just not jiving with them. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's not really a whole lot that you can do about that, but understand that you have personal
Mm-hmm.
preferences, and learn how to spot those things, and not put them in your backlog. Like
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's all I can really say. Is just, it's good to know what you like, and know what you don't, but to maybe try dabbling outside of your comfort zone once in a while, just to make sure you're right about what your likes are, because
It's
sometimes
so hard.
I
It's
know.
so hard. There's so many consideration in a game. Like sometimes it's the art style. Like I just can't get over the art style. I'm so sorry. Like some of the new Saga game, I can't get over it. Like I see, I'm like, this is gross. Like what have you done to the series?
Hmm.
And then some other times it's like the combat. Some other times it's the story. Just like, why would you do that? And then you're like, oh god, I can't deal with. And this guy's the main character. It's not like I can do anything with like to move forward with. There's so many elements that,
Yeah.
and then there's like I'm Setsuna, where like for once the music's the thing that got to me because it was just nonstop sad piano always. Like the entire soundtrack for the entire game for however many hours, like it was like 40, 50 hours. It was just 50 hours of sad piano.
Oh,
And I'm like, okay, I am so over this right now. Like,
yeah.
I thought you thought I would be sad to listen to sad piano, but I'm annoyed, and I just can't wait to finish this game.
When the sad
Um,
pianos got you down, or got you feeling annoyed instead of down,
yeah.
or oh man, there was a show that I used to watch sometimes, but I stopped being able to watch it after a friend made a joke about it. So, did you ever
Okay.
watch The Big O?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a song that they play on a
Hmm.
piano as it
Hmm.
happens, and for some reason it just gets replayed at like weird intervals, like
Hmm.
without. So like my friend at one point just referred to it as like bacon and eggs or something, because
Why bacon and eggs?
it played during a part where it's like somebody was making breakfast.
Okay.
So my friend referred to it as the bacon and eggs song.
Okay.
So like whenever I'm watching like the Big O, it's just like that song comes on, I'm just like, oh, bacon and eggs, and I can't take it seriously anymore. It's just weird what like your brain will do with
Yeah.
associations of music. Um,
No, absolutely.
so like once
Yeah.
the song is no longer doing what it's meant to do for you, it can absolutely cause like a breakdown, a mistranslation, and
Hmm.
subvert the entire experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah. So it's just so many things. Like, and any one of these things can throw you off and make you not want to continue. So I don't envy game developers. I just feel like, from a game enjoyer perspective, it's just any of these things can make me not want to play a game.
Hmm.
And so I get it. Sometimes I really want to drop a game and just want to remind people, yeah, absolutely, you can absolutely drop the game. You shouldn't feel shame, you know? Like
Yeah,
there's no problem with that, like Derek said. So um
Baku,
I,
are
I
you
am
a
dropping some games myself. So I'm like, oh yeah, I don't want to play this anymore.
Baku? Are you what you would might refer to as like a perfectionist or a completionist when it comes to RPGs?
Absolutely not. I'm the polar opposite. Completionist. If I finish the game and the credit rolls, that's it for me.
Yeah.
And no amount of shaming will get me to fight the super boss. I've had people come in to do that to me. Or like, why don't you play nightmare mode? And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Hmm. I got
It's like,
nothing to prove
don't you
anymore.
want to like test your skill or whatever? I'm like, no.
Nope, got nothing to prove.
Nope. I just want to
So
see the story.
so the reason I ask is this was another response that we got. I foolishly didn't write down who wrote it, but they said, for me, it's the OCD like obsession with 100% completing any game that I play. I
Mhm.
only play a few games per year as a result. Also, my rule is to always put family, fitness, and job and cooking ahead of gaming, so combining that with being a completionist means I miss out on the majority of games.
Mhm.
Also, I like to start the series at the beginning, so games like The Trails or Yakuza would mean mathematically months or years of only playing those series to catch up. Been gaming consistently for 30 years though.
Ooh,
So,
man.
yeah.
I
So
feel
that's
that so hard.
dude, the Persona series for
Mhm.
me was for a long time. I used to play the Persona series with the intention of doing like 100% social link runs. So I would like look up guides and stuff, but then all of the guides suck. Okay, guys?
Mhm.
Make make Persona guides work, please. Because I used to try to follow those guides
Mhm.
and like I would follow them to the I swear I would follow them to the T, but then like they would have some instruction for me to follow that wasn't available during like that time slot or something like, oh, go to the theater. Well, I don't have access to the theater yet. I followed your guide. Why don't I have access to the theater? So I'd try to do this like 100% run by following this really meticulous guide and schedule, but then that all fell apart and then you can't do it. And then you already had like 30, 40 hours into the run. And you're like, what am I
Oh.
supposed to do? So I would always fail to complete a Persona game. That's the long story short, is because I was trying to 100% complete the game by
Mhm.
doing all of the social links up to maximum because I was trying to do it just right. It always failed. It wasn't until I forced myself to just stop giving a damn and to actually just play the game um like the way it was intended to,
Mhm.
and which is to say, spend the time with the characters that you like and just acknowledge the fact that you're not going to do a 100% run of the Persona games. It wasn't until then. It's I feel like I'm like about to quote a book or something. How I learned to stop caring and enjoy Persona.
You know, I used to like never play games with guides ever,
Hmm.
except for one series, which is Super Robot Wars. And for anyone who has ever played that game, you would understand why you would play with a guide because there's a lot of like hidden units that are just like you miss like one little thing on a route, and all of a sudden you miss the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to replay that again. Like no, no, okay. And that is until one little RPG changed my mind about the entire thing, and that was Final Fantasy X-2. And I feel like I've told the story before, but X-2 got me to use a guide ever
Really?
since. There's this one missable thing in the very, 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 very beginning of the game, like the prologue. Okay, and if you miss that, you don't get the 100% story. You miss the whole like secret ending.
Was it
And
something to
I
do with a
tried my
cave?
best. Yeah, I was looking at my like game completion and I'm like, I'm stuck at 99%. I don't understand. What am I missing? And I've gone through all over the world. I've talked to every
Hmm.
every NPC. I've tried everything and I just couldn't get that last 1%. And I'm like, you know what, fine, I give up. So I read the guide. What am I missing? Oh, you're supposed to check this one thing out in the very beginning of the game by running the opposite direction of where they are telling you to go.
That
And
is
I'm like, you son of a,
anti-gamer design.
yeah. And you
That's the
can never
design
go
of
back
someone
to
who
that
hates
scene
their
once you're
players.
done with it. Yeah, once you're done with that part, you can't ever go back. It's not like, oh well, it's fine, just go back to it and just look at that thing and check and you're fine. No, you
That
can't
is
ever go back. Only the opening sequence.
that is such a hateful design element.
Ugh. Yeah. Ever since then, I start using a
Oh my
guide. I don't
god.
care anymore. I
Oh
look at a
man.
guide. I look at all the secrets. I try not to spoil myself. Just be like,
Sure.
here are all the secrets. Okay,
You
here are
can
all the
usually
things to
find
watch out
like
for. That's it.
spoiler-free guides
Yeah,
usually that
spoiler-free
do.
guides. I try
Yeah.
to find those. And then so I love spoiler-free guides. The people who goes to distance to write a guide, like bless you for spending the time. For
Yeah.
anyone who wants to read a guide, they're there for those people. for the people who spent the extra time to write a spoiler-free guide,
Oh yeah.
like hats go off to you because it's not just writing guide, but you have to go back and comb through and make sure that like there's no spoiler, right? It's just an extra layer of difficulty, and all these people are just like volunteering to do the stuff. So just amazing people. Just
Yeah.
hats off to you.
I don't want to, express any ungratitude toward the writer of whoever wrote that GameFAQs guide for Persona 3 back in the day. But
Do better. You can still critique them. I mean, yes, they're doing us a favor, but you can still do better. I mean,
that's true.
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Next up is to do with modern game design, which
Okay.
is interesting. This one comes from Chow Knights. They said, games like Trails and Disgaea have spoiled me with their game speed settings and customization options, and now I get annoyed at games with battle systems and mechanics that waste the player's time. They said, I think
Oh,
the first time I
jeez.
noticed this was in Xenoblade 2, where the menu for those Merc missions take ages just to take them and confirm missions completion because of the game's menu animations. Or the way
Oh,
that the gacha
jeez.
system wastes your time with each time that you use a core.
Oh, yeah. Instead of like rolling 10, you have to roll them one at a time. Is annoying.
I don't know anything about it. So
Yeah.
they also said more recently, it's caused me to not even want to play JRPGs in general because I feel like they'll make me bored, which is what happened with the Sea of Stars. Maybe it's just the genre isn't for me anymore. I don't know.
Well, it's possible. I mean, people change. And sometimes you like a thing, and then sometimes you need to take a break from it, and then sometimes you come back, sometimes you don't. That's life.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be tied to a thing. If you're no longer having fun with it, which is unfortunate, but it happens.
Hmm.
And if it happens, then I think it's okay to accept it.
Yeah. Also, consider emulation. You don't necessarily have to pirate all of your games to emulate, but if you do, just saying, you might have access to certain fast forward features. Uh, like I think all of the there was like the new Chrono Cross remaster
Hmm.
on Nintendo Switch included a fast forward functionality. Uh,
Oh,
the,
did they?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of games nowadays that are actually being developed with the fast forward functionality built in,
Hmm.
including various remasters that I think help reduce a lot of that. It wasn't it Final Fantasy IX that also allowed you to turn off random encounter.
Final Fantasy
Excuse me,
8, I think.
allowed
Actually, I
you to
don't
turn
know if
off.
9 has that, but I know 8 definitely does.
Okay, 8 had
Yeah.
the option to turn off random encounters.
Yeah.
Um,
A bunch of things.
Yeah, so it's really nice that more games are introducing systems like that,
Hmm.
especially with their remasters, because those I think were all inspired kind of by the fast forward functionality of emulation, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Uh,
I think that's actually pretty true. Yeah.
I mean, how could it not be, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's just one of those quality of life improvements where
Yeah.
yeah, people like using them, and oh well, maybe we should. Yeah, that's how you combat piracy. By the way, everybody, um, is to offer a product that is better than what the pirates can offer, technically, in a way. So, anyways, so did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, or
Uh, game design.
yeah,
Yeah.
certain
I
game
don't know if it's
designs just
just
make it
like,
hard to return to other kinds of games.
yeah, I don't know if it's just like hubris from game developers sometimes. They're like, oh, no one's ever going to want to skip these like beautiful animation. Like, no, beg to differ. I enjoyed it for the first 20 times I saw it. Don't really care to see this anymore. I
Oh
just want to
god.
keep going.
Summoning
Like,
animations. Oh my god.
yeah, or like, and this might have to do with more like tactical RPG, but like sometimes they were just like, here, do basically the same stage again. It's like, yeah, no. Again, with the whole replayability, or maybe it's like it's two, actually. Now that I think about it, it's like it's two is two distinctive things that makes it worse in terms of like game length. There is the replayability, which focuses on things that happens after you've completed the main game campaign, if you will.
Hmm.
And then there is the the fluff
Yeah.
that is in the main game. And the fluff comes in many different flavors. Sometimes it's just stages that are simply just repeats, but then you have to do it for grinds. Other time it's like the grind itself, like the
Hmm.
leveling is just not done quite well. So at a certain stage, you just have to keep fighting monsters over and over just to make sure that you don't get completely floored by the boss because the what is it called? The scaling was not done well. Other times it's like side quests that they're added in to extend the gameplay. And I'm like, no, just don't have this. Just don't have this in here. This added no value to anyone. It didn't tell a particularly important story. I'm fetching milk for an NPC. Oh, here you go. Yes, thank you. Here's some things. Now we'll check mark it in the list of side quests that you have. And if you didn't
Hmm.
do this, shame on you and no marks for you. And then that little check mark would just forever be empty, which drives people crazy. For people who are like completionists, it would just drive them crazy, right? So
Yeah.
that become not a choice. Yeah, for all the people who are like, yeah, but it's a side quest, it's a choice. For some people, mentally speaking, it's not a choice. Okay, if the side quest there, they have to do it
Yeah.
because they're the completionist kind, right?
I mean,
Um,
I have some completionist tendencies that are biting me in the butt when it comes to my replay of SMT5. Because for whatever reason, I still want to collect all of the Memon because I feel like if I don't, it's just and those are basically like the Koroks of the game. Essentially, there's so many. Um,
yeah,
anyway.
there's so many of these like pitfalls. I feel like game developers nowadays needs to watch out for. But I think the biggest one for me is side quests. Like game scaling, of course, like if you should try to do a good job no matter what. So that's that.
Hmm.
Just having, but like side quests, just freaking side quests. Like you made the choice to add the side quests in there, right? So
Yeah.
if you're gonna do the work, like a good side quest to me, it's not always the case, but Yakuza has some pretty memorable side quests where like it adds to the characters, adds to the story, and then you get to see like the locals, and you can get more of a feeling of modern day issues. They try to bring some modern, like there's this one where like there's a weird cult that like forces people to join them. And in Japan, like this whole cult thing is like an actual like societal issue, right? So it kind of gives you a flavor of the world that they live in. So I think that's pretty cool. If people caught it, that is. So they do some of these in their side quests, not all of it. I'll say
Hmm.
like 80% of their side quests falls in the category of like this is a real world issue, and we're just gonna display it in a way that is easy to digest for people, just to be like, yes, this is an actual thing that happens to people in real life. So some other games, it's just like freaking fetch quests. It added nothing to my life. It didn't make me think about anything. It didn't add to the lore. Just like, why did you do this?
Yeah.
Just don't have it.
Yeah. Sometimes bad game design is just bad game design, and fetch quests are, I don't feel like fetch quests are inherently a bad thing. Like they get
Mhm.
a bad rap because I mean because of their ease of being recognized. But a lot of just any honestly, it feels like any quest in an RPG,
Mhm.
honestly, is a fetch quest. It's just a matter of how well is it hidden as being a fetch quest. How good are the reasons that you are given to go fetch said thing or kill said monster? Like there's really very little deviation from like the various objectives that you need to accomplish in one
Mhm.
RPG to another. Like every time you're given a task, if you think of it as a fetch quest, you will see it as a fetch quest. Like if you like, how is this a fetch quest? How is this a go kill this monster quest and bring back said item? Um, you know, it's nine. There are very few non fetch quests out there, and so it's really just a matter of how well do they disguise it and motivate the player. And I think that what it really comes down to is just like lack of player motivation to do something. If it just boils down to, because old man Weathers needs his Werthers, then it's not going to be, no one's going to care.
You know what's the kind I hate the most?
Hmm.
It's like not only is it a fetch quest, but you have to go and get an item from a certain monster, like a town back,
Yeah.
and the drop rate is low. You
Yeah.
see? It's like,
Yeah.
come on, like why are you making me do this? Other than for me to like the drop rate is low. You're the developer. You knew this. This is designed. This is by choice. You've added this quest into here knowing that the drop rate from this it only drops from
Uh-huh.
this thing and it's a town back, so to backtrack, fight this thing for a good like half an hour just for like the 5 drop that you wanted, and it's always stuck at 4.
Hmm.
Okay. The
Yeah.
fifth one just never drops. And you're like, come on. And you're just like begrudgingly fighting this thing. Finally, you get 5. And then you're like, well, thank you, traveler, for this 5 things. Here's a useless item for you. But you've completed the quest. And now that bubble is gone. And you can
Yep.
live,
And
you
you
can
can
breathe
breathe.
better now knowing that you've completed a quest, for an NPC.
So this one is kind of tough. This next one, and it's to do with health and physical issues.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's tough.
I know it's already super tough.
Hmm.
But this is a comment we got from Concussed Gamer,
Hmm.
the aptly named Concussed Gamer. They said, "My issue is not being able to play games in general, but I mainly play JRPGs anyway. It's back in 2021, I received a concussion when I was that I haven't yet recovered from. They say they have visual issues where any game with a lot of movement on screen or rotation messes with their head, which leaves 90s kind of RPGs. But the issue they also have is lacking the ability to retain new information at times and forget what they're even doing, which causes frustration to no end. So they end up playing older games that they are familiar with already, and some randomizers of those games since they don't really bother them as much. Which is
Wow, that's oof.
that's tough. That's
That's
really
tough.
I.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of that you might be able to look into are a lot of like the ultra short kinds of RPGs that
Mhm.
won't necessarily provide you with a lore dump that you have to try to remember, but like yeah, sometimes you know, or maybe writing stuff down as you go, like to try to keep an idea of like what your current objective is. But that can also be really tough,
Mhm.
when you're having trouble remembering like even what you're doing. Ugh, dang.
I we kind of talked about this too, but this is the kind of trend I do see for indie game developers and mainstream. I don't know if mainstream will catch up, but indie game developers like maybe consider focusing on a really polished 20-hour experience. Okay. It will cost you less. You can go to market sooner, and you can work on new things. You can get feedback sooner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be real, a lot of times when you release a thing, you work on it for like 4 or 5 years. I mean, granted, you're getting feedback from some people. You're not getting the true feedback until you release the game out in the wild. And
Yeah.
once you do, that's when you're really getting all the feedback, all the most like gruesome, like blunt feedbacks are coming, right? And then you take that and then you learn and you make a better game, right? Like that's what happens with a lot of things in life in general, not just games. But if you can go to market sooner with a very refined experience that's 10 to 20 hours, people give you the feedback, and then you can speed up that loop of like being able to like learn, and you can always make a sequel like so.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of calling it episodic, you're effectively making a game episodic by releasing a game and then be like, okay, that went well, well, here's what we've learned, I'll give you another 20 hours of this, or so. And then this time it is the continuation. It feels, and you can even build a system where, hey, if you had save from the previous game, we'll take it in. You can continue right there, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
can do that. And then so you can trick people into playing the second game and the third game and so on and so forth. Like if you so choose to. But the bottom line is, make games that's shorter, make games that's more refined, and have a shorter experience. Don't as a small indie developer, please do not try to make like an 80-hour game. Just don't
Yeah.
do it. Like, you're setting yourself up for failure. Like,
One
that
of
development time is going to be way too long.
yeah.
You're going to burn yourself out. Just
Yeah.
don't do it.
One
And
of
I
the
think the
things that
trend.
that I
No,
really
go ahead.
do appreciate is
Mhm.
for some of the longer games. I mean, these are some of the longer games. The Trails games obviously are massive, but I will
Jeez,
say
yeah.
that one of the things that I really appreciated with them is, I think, an underappreciated aspect of them, the notebook or the notepad, where
Mm.
you have a chat log of
Hmm.
all of the characters and NPCs that you've like talked to. You can like open up the log and like read back and kind of remember or get reminded of what you were doing or why
Hmm.
you were sent in this direction. And you have the notepad that you can always see, like not just like current objectives or like lists of objectives, but like it retells you the story of what happened. Like, this character said, we did this, and then this character said this, and this, and this, and now they want us to go over here to do this. It's like that is so
Oh,
incredibly
yeah.
helpful. Because like sometimes, as a inconsistent streamer, it can be a while between sessions, and I will sometimes have no memory of what I was doing last time either. But the
Dude,
notepad is always there to back me up. So if more games had features like that, that would be so nice.
it's like Pokemon. Actually, two games have
Oh
similar systems
yeah,
that I think are pretty good. Like Pokemon, when you
the
first turn on the
flashbacks.
game, it tells you like what was the last thing you did. Like, the
Yeah,
first thing you see is just like this diary, the automatic diary entry from the game that basically tells you the last thing you did. Like,
yeah,
oh, I traveled through route da da da, and I went to da 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 city. It's like, oh, so that was the last thing I did when I turned off the game. That's really cool. The other one is I just found the file. Instead of giving you words, it gives you like little flashbacks of scenes of like the last chapter that you played.
mm,
So then by seeing those scenes, it jogs your memory like, oh, okay, these are flashbacks. These are things that just happened leading up to this point where I just load into the save, and then it shows you where you are. And you're like, that was a really brilliant way of like reminding you like where you are in the game too. To various level of effectiveness, of course, but I still appreciate the feature, like you said, like some things to jog your memory of like, where was I? I put this game away like a month ago. Crap, I really don't remember. I don't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Like,
yeah. Well,
those are good features, and I'd love to see more of those.
yeah. Just put more awesome accessibility features like those in games is better. I mean, a lot of
Absolutely.
these things that we've talked about today have been, there have been some things you can do things about, but a lot of things are like game design related.
Hmm.
And all we can really do is try to highlight some of these things that maybe some ideas that you can employ in your own RPG journey, and others are going to need to be employed by game designers from the ground
Yeah.
up. And hopefully by highlighting some of these things, we can inspire people to make better games. Now, for everybody who might just be listening to this in chat or after the fact, throw out your struggles or maybe solutions that you've come across to some of your struggles in the comments down below, because being able to share, uh, you know, to share your struggles and solutions sometimes can be such a huge boon to some people. And honestly,
Yeah.
I could use some help sometimes too. I sometimes sound like I got it all figured out, but that's just, it's not the case.
Oh yeah. You and me both, man. You and me both.
I
um
don't know if I ever look like I got it all figured out. I'm doing a very good job of acting. I'll just say that.
Derek has a lot more things figured out than most people. That's the illusion. right?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the
not the
illusion.
illusion. That is the fact.
Oh,
But the
oh God.
illusion is because he has so many things figured out that you feel like it's everything. Well, it might not be everything, but he
Yeah.
has most things in life figured out.
Like I got to figure out how to play more Lufia too, so I can review this thing. Anyway, so that
Yeah.
covers the discussion topics of today. We thought this might be a short show, but we got so many responses to this discussion topic. I guess it really resonated with a lot of you, and I thank you all so much for opening up and sharing with us here today. It's been a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
I was reading chat like half the time. So thank you for throwing chats in there and sharing your experience.
All right. Well, we have a couple of super chats to respond to here, real quick. So we'll go ahead and switch gears over here. Fluffy Dogs, who signed up for their 24 months of support here.
Oh,
Thank you so
wow.
much. I know, 2 years. Happy 2 years, man.
Happy 2 years, man.
They said, while I was a fan in the past, the bigger the open world in games now, the more I am likely to stop playing out of sensory overload. They say they
Ooh.
have regressed.
Yeah.
I feel that, man.
Wow.
Open world was like such a cool thing because when it was first introduced, it's like, here's this thing that we can now accomplish. Like we
Hmm.
can now create these gigantic worlds and maybe even fill them with things. But that's the trap is now that you have this open world, you feel like you must fill that world with something to make it worthwhile. And
Hmm.
usually that something is also just filler. Koroks and Mimons, that's
Yeah.
it. Just, oh, can you find all these items? There's so many collectibles. That's, as I'm replaying through Shin Megami Tensei 5, that's what I'm realizing is I should really just beeline the story and get done with it. Oh man.
Yeah. I cannot. I never really understood the whole open world thing.
I think it's
I
just because they thought it'd be more immersive that way, like, oh, you have this whole world and it all takes place and you can go anywhere. And some games do it well.
yeah. I
Some.
still feel like there's the whole divide between like Western and Japanese RPG sort of like kind of like sensibility. For Western RPGs, a lot of times you are the character. Like, think I don't know. Think what is it called? Like dang it, what what's that game series that we keep making fun of for like not having a new uh game? Dang it, what's the Bethesda game that we keep
Oh,
saying? Oh,
Fallout.
huh?
Probably
Fallout?
Fallout.
Well, okay, well, Fallout is one. Fallout is one. I wasn't thinking
Or the
about
Elder
Fallout, but
Scrolls.
I was thinking about Elder Scrolls. There you
Oh,
go. It's
okay.
like it is never going to be another Elder Scroll. Yeah, but those games, like they're RPGs. You play us yourself, like the character in this game, in this
Yeah.
first person. And open world makes a lot more sense to me, right? Because
Oh
you
yeah.
want to be immersive, right? You want to feel like you're in this world. Like borders doesn't make sense. Transporting into a different zone without traversing from point A to point B doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So open world feels great for things like Skyrim or whatever,
Hmm.
right? But when it comes to a JRPG, like it's a lot of times you're watching a story unfold. You're not the characters. You're sort of like the narrator in a way where you're just watching it happen. Like
Hmm.
even for a thing like P3 or uh Chrono Trigger, like you don't necessarily insert yourself. Like you're not that character Chrono, but you
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
empathize. You can empathize, but you're not like that person. Nowhere is it being like, well, you are Chrono. It's like, oh no, I'm just still just seeing the story as it unfolds, right? So open world doesn't matter as much to me. Like, yeah, the characters transport from this place to this place. Yeah, I don't need to see how you go from A to B. Like, I don't care about the open world aspect in that sense. Like, the traversal doesn't matter. Like, you can fly over or teleport. I don't care. I just want to see the next scene. Like, I just
Hmm.
want to see scene two, chapter two. I just want to see what happens next. Um, so that's the reason why I don't ever really cared about open world.
Yeah.
Overworld is enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like Alex said, this overworld. Overworld is enough for me. I don't need to see all the little things in high definition between towns,
Yeah,
but just let me walk from town A to town B.
as a
Like,
giant.
yeah, as
Let me
long as that
traipse
happens,
along
is
the
fine.
countryside as like a giant, among small trees. That would be fantastic. More games need overworlds.
Yeah, I
So
like overworlds, but open world, I don't need it. I don't. I'd rather they don't spend time fuzzing over open world. And when they were
yeah,
doing what Final Fantasy 16, and they were like, "Oh, is this going to be an open world game?" And then they're like, "No, we're not going to do an open world game." And then they're like, "Boo, why not?" They're like, "Well, we're doing a game over the time span of like 40 years or something,
that
or
would be
like
a
30
lot.
years." And if I had to do an open world game and account for changes to a world over 30 years of storytelling, it's gonna be a lot, right? It doesn't make sense for the story they're trying to tell. And then that's the key. Like the key there is open world is not right for every storytelling. And
Yeah,
developers shouldn't be obsessed with trying to make everything open world, nor should people expect everything to just be like be all ends all open world or nothing. Like sometimes open world makes the game worse,
it
and that's you
certainly
know
can.
yeah.
And then we got another one here from Bro Dude Man Bro. Can you guess what they said?
I love you, Baku.
That's exactly what they said. Well
Love
done.
you too, bro. Appreciate you, man.
All right. So that does it for today's episode of Hit Point. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a like or a thumbs up on whatever podcasting platform of choice you are currently partaking on. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, again, share your thoughts in the comments down below about your struggles and solutions if you have any. We'll be reading for sure. All
Heck
right.
yeah, that's what I like to do every Monday.
Yeah, that's how we
Yeah.
pass our Mondays. Have a great night, everybody.
Night.